fast on some of this, but I will take a little bit of time. Jackie, I wanted to thank you so much for inviting ACFE to participate and support this amazing event. Very inspiring to be in this room with you all today. And I'm going to spend a little time talking about who the ACFE is and how what we do overlaps with what you all do. And even more than that, how what we do, we could not do without what you all do. So our whole profession owes so much of what it's able to do to the role that you all play. Slide. Okay, so quick, who we are. We are a membership association. Just like the Whistleblowers of America, we have associate members, we have certified members. I'll share more about that in a second. But basically, we have 95,000 members all over the world, 180 countries. We are a global body. The ACFE staff itself is in Austin, Texas, but we represent our members everywhere. And those members are very diverse professionally. They range from a few people in this room, I know, to accountants, auditors, finance professionals, attorneys, compliance folks, risk folks, investigators, law enforcement. We've got everybody. We also have every industry represented. Top two are usually government public administration and financial services, which is not too surprisingly two of the industries that we know there's a lot of whistleblowing in. But even with that diversity, we are unified by our mission. And you can see our mission over on the right side of the screen. It is that we are all committed to fighting fraud in all its forms wherever it occurs. And when I talk about we, meaning the ACFE, that's who we are. But when I talk about that mission, the day that every one of you in this room chose to come forward with the truth, or chose to dedicate your life to supporting those who are providing that truth, you joined our mission. So we have 95,000 official members all over the world, but you all as whistleblowers have 95,000 advocates and allies all over the world because we're doing this together. And that's the together in our tagline. At a granular level, what we offer, membership, we offer community. Very similar to what you all have here, we try to offer for those that are doing the audits and the investigations based on what we know to be brought forward about wrongdoing. We offer the Certified Fraud Examiner credential. And again, I know we have a few of those in the room as well. Shout out to them. This is for individuals who want to show that they've got expertise and proficiency in fighting fraud. So you can get certified for that. We've got, I want to say 60,000 certified fraud examiners all over the world. And those are a great source of information and support when you're combating fraud. We also offer training and education, and we offer resources not just to our members, but to the general public. And I'm going to share a little bit about some of those resources today, the ones that are very relevant to what you all are doing. All right, we can go to the next one. One other thing I want to share that we do, especially coming right, I know, coming right off of the amazing lunchtime award ceremony we just had, the ACFE every year bestows our Sentinel Award to a whistleblower, or whistleblowers, plural. And we honor them. You can see that 2025 is apparently the year of Tom Devine. That's very exciting. Last year we had Sarah and Jennifer come speak to our audience and receive that award as well. This is because we recognize the value, importance, and want to support and honor whistleblowers for what they do for our profession. The award is given for choosing truth over self, although after the presentation this morning, maybe the long version is for choosing truth over our biologically wired self-preservation instinct. That's the long version, right? But this is for honoring when we choose courage over comfort. That's a Brené Brown quote. I don't know if y'all are familiar with her, but it reminds me of that a lot. And I've heard a lot about courage today. I've heard a lot about bravery and bringing that truth to light. So for those who do choose courage over comfort, for those who do choose courage over safety or uncertainty, but certainly over self-preservation, I'm hearing myself. The Matrix is definitely happening, y'all. We want to honor those folks every year. And so thank you for what you do, and know that we are also raising awareness on our end as well. All right, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so what do we know about fraud and whistleblowing as the overlap. As I mentioned, we can't do what we do without what you all do. I'm going to share a little bit of information from ACFE research. A lot of it might be things you know, either because you are familiar with ACFE and you've seen it before, or because it just maps to your personal experiences and observations. But we compile a lot of research around the concepts of whistleblowing to show at a macro level, this is what it looks like. And while it might not necessarily help you in your immediate situation, we are hopeful that it helps with telling the story of the importance of whistleblowers around the world. So 2 studies that we put out we've put out recently. On the right is our Occupational Fraud 2024 report, colloquially called Report to the Nations. If you ever hear ACFE Report to the Nations, that's what this is. For that, we conduct it every 2 years. We ask our certified fraud examiner members to give us a ton of details, like 80-something questions worth of details, about the biggest case of occupational fraud they investigated in the prior 2 years. Real quick, occupational fraud is when an employee is using their position to commit fraud. So we're looking at all of the cases that involved somebody using their job for fraudulent purposes. And we look at the cost of those frauds, we look at how they were committed, who committed them, the perpetrator demographics, how they were detected, a whole host of things, and we compile a big report about them. We also put out another report with the IIA last year on specifically whistleblower hotline programs. And we called it whistleblower hotline programs, meaning it more broadly than just the hotline. It's the whole program. So we wanted to understand what makes some whistleblower programs more effective than others. And we did a lot of thinking about how we would measure that. And we thought about all the KPIs that you hear organizations use, a number of reports, or how many are substantiated, and how many are investigated, and all those things. And we actually took a step back and said that actually doesn't matter. Because you can have a whistleblower program that has amazing KPIs, but if people don't perceive it as effective, they're not going to use it. Right? Those KPIs can sit in a drawer somewhere. It really is about the perception. At the same time, you can have a whistleblower program that's not really meeting what the leadership wants to see, but if people believe in it, they're going to use it. And success, what we thought of was, how do people perceive it and how likely are they to use it? So we did a report kind of highlighting what we found as far as what makes a hotline program more effective. So I want to share a little bit from each of these. Go ahead. The first is from the Report to the Nations, and this is what I mean when I say we can't do what we do without you all. We've been conducting the Report to the Nations for 20 years, no, 30 years, 96. I think I'm 10 years younger than I am, sorry. So for almost 30 years, 96 was the first one, and we look at data over time. And this finding stands out every single time as being incredibly consistent. It's wild. We'll look at 2,000 brand new cases of fraud every 2 years. And every 2 years, we find that right around 40% of those frauds are detected by a tip. And that's about 3 times more than any other detection method. So when I say we can't do what we do without you all, what I mean is we'd be missing 40% of frauds without you all. Or best case, we find them, but it's later and they're bigger. So without you, we are not as effective as anti-fraud professionals. Our members cannot be as effective without what you're doing. Go to the next one. And within those tips, unsurprisingly, more than half are from employees inside the company who are willing to identify themselves. We have another 15% from anonymous sources. Some of those are likely employees as well, right? So that means we've got to be creating environments where insiders feel comfortable raising the flag and saying, I know something, and they know how to bring it forward. It also means we've got about a third of tips coming from outside parties, which means we can't limit the awareness of that program to insiders. They need to be made available to outsiders as well. Good. All right, a couple just little tidbits because I think they're interesting. How are reports being received? There's been a change. This really doesn't surprise us too much. I'm kind of excited to see what we find out this year. We're doing our survey right now for the next one. Not too surprisingly, online reporting is going up. I think as my teenagers enter the workforce, that will rise even higher. Telephone going down also. I expect that to go down because they won't pick up their phones. Email is trending. People are still mailing in reports. I think the biggest surprise on here to me is that we still have a few people faxing down at the bottom. Text message came out of nowhere and is above faxing, but there's still faxes. So yeah, just kind of knowing where they're coming from is kind of interesting. Go ahead. And then when a whistleblower did not use a hotline program, this is who they went to. Obviously, the top person is going to be their direct supervisor. And kudos to those direct supervisors for creating an environment where somebody felt comfortable coming forward. Because as we've heard today, it automatically means, hey, I'm coming about something management related, whether it's the supervisor or not, right? So those 29% of tips, that supervisor had made a safe space for that to be brought forward. And the executives as well, 16%. That's not a ton, but like those executives did the right thing in terms of saying, I'm a place where you can come report. Okay, so switching gears to the other study, and I've got links to both of the studies on the last slide. I'm also glad I've got my card. Be glad to share it with anybody if you want me to mail you copies. When we talked about what makes a whistleblower program effective, as I mentioned, this is all about the perception of effectiveness because that is what's going to influence whether somebody uses it. So what we did was we looked at the characteristics of the programs and whether they were rated as extremely effective, marginally effective, or not at all effective. I'm never coming to it. And here were the characteristics that were the most correlated with that perceived effectiveness. Having a fraud department. This doesn't mean the company has a fraud team that's buried somebody else. This is, we take fraud so seriously, we have a whole team with fraud in the name, right? That sends a message to employees. And to others that we take it seriously and we're proactive about it. Independent administration. Is it administered by somebody inside the company? Is it administered by an outside third party? What we saw is the hotline program being administered by an outside party means it's perceived to be more safe to come forward with information. That's not too surprising. Anonymity, we talked about this a second ago. Where legally permissible, and we know that in some jurisdictions there's challenges here, allowing for and honoring the anonymity of the reporter helps improve the effectiveness and the perception of effectiveness for the hotline program. Making it available around the clock. That courage doesn't only come during working hours. In fact, I would guess that a lot of courage comes at 3 a.m. when you just can't take it anymore or on the weekend. Making sure that when that courage is strong, the hotline program is there and can receive the tip. Multiple reporting mechanisms. I guess if you have a fax, keep it going. We want to make sure we've got as many opportunities for people to report as possible. And then this last one, based on everything we've heard today, obviously no one knows this as well as the people in this room, is true protection against retaliation. And you know, we heard there's organizations that have policies that say there's zero tolerance for retaliation, and that doesn't matter. It's specifically what we saw was how do the executives position their anti-retaliation approach, their stance? Are the executives living that zero tolerance? So that was a big one. Okay. But here's what we really found, and this actually made me think of a lot of the conversation earlier today. The bottom line we found is that the hotline is only as effective as it is trusted. If people do not believe that their report will be taken seriously and followed up on, and if they do not believe that they will be protected, they will not report. Kind of common sense, but we have data to back it up now. What I was thinking about this morning, though, when somebody asked the question about how do we get more people to come forward, and what I started thinking about is it's courage, right? We talked about like finding that courage within you, but courage and trust are inversely related. The more you trust that your report will be taken seriously, the less courage you need, and the more people are likely to come forward. The less you trust that somebody's going to listen or that you'll be safe, the more courage you're going to need to come forward. So how do we build systems where if we want more people willing to report, they don't need to feel as courageous to get to that point? They trust that it's going to be taken care of. And how do we do that in an environment where it's a low trust society right now, or we have low trust workplaces, right? I think that's the challenge that we're all up against. And then how do we build that courage? Somebody mentioned it's awareness. So much of it is making sure people know that they will be supported if they come forward. Okay, so I'm trying to get us back on track. I'll go pretty quickly here, Jackie. I think we're getting close. So what does that mean for the anti-fraud profession, for those who are conducting audits and investigations, for those that are working with folks like you to make sure that these cases are brought to light? Our first job is to build that trust, to lower the amount of courage it takes to come forward with the truth. We need to build trust not only in the whistleblowing process, the investigation process or the audit process, in the humans that are conducting those, and in the safety of those that are being brave enough to come forward. We need to build that trust all the way through. Remaining objective, we heard this morning about the weaponization of the investigation function. The ACFE Code of Ethics requires objectivity and independence in every single engagement, and we hold our members to that standard. If we find out an investigation was not conducted with objectivity, they can be sanctioned by us for that. So that is a requirement, and it's the way that investigations are meant to be. We have to remain objective as we're doing our work in order to build that trust. The facts are our beacon. You guys shine the initial light, and we've got to follow that light. So that objectivity cannot be compromised. Remembering the human element here. As anti-fraud professionals, we actually do a lot of work on understanding the psychology of fraud, what makes someone commit unethical acts, what makes somebody cross that line. It's equally important for us to remember the human element of those that did the right thing, recognizing the courage that it took, the potential trauma that person is going through, showing up with the level of empathy that they deserve while also balancing all of the other pieces of the investigation. Remembering that this might have been the hardest decision of their life to come forward, and that it didn't stop the day that they gave you the information. So constantly bringing that humanity and that empathy to your investigative process. And then finally, thinking of all of these things through the package of not just the current whistleblower you're working with, but everyone who might find out information 2 years from now. And you want them to get a positive message and bring it back, right? You want them to witness that person came forward and they were hailed as a hero, not shunned. I know that if I see something wrong, I will also be treated with respect and dignity and empathy when I come forward. Okay, I think we got close on time. I am glad to take any questions. I also do have, like I said, the links to those surveys. There's a lot more than what I shared today. I'm glad to contextualize them if anybody has questions about them, but hopefully they do help at least give sort of a high-level picture of whistleblowing for you all. Is there a question? Yes.
So I have the state auditor who is supporting me, and then we have a new OIG that's coming in. I'm a little confused, like, do you keep them in check as an external organization? Like, if they just come out with this report that's going to be all fluff, do I come to you and say, would you please unfluff this?
We only have any jurisdiction over CFEs, people that are certified through our organization. So if you are working with someone who is a certified fraud examiner and you have evidence they were not objective in an engagement that they conducted as a certified fraud examiner, then we can step in and say, you cannot be doing that.
And how would I know that? It's a state agency.
Okay, they would have to be certified. We have on our website a tool that you can use to verify, or you can take my card. I'm glad to help look into whether any of them are certified through us. But if they're not certified through us, unfortunately, we don't have any direct impact. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Yeah.
Someone reporting said that it was by accident.
Yes, yes, there is. I don't remember the exact number. We can go all the way back to it. It was the first graph. Let's see. Keep going. One more up. There we go. Yes. So 5% of frauds are detected by accident. No one was looking. We just stumbled upon it. Right. That's even in companies that maybe have fraud teams or internal audit teams. They've got management reviewing stuff, but then just like, oops, look what we found. So still 5%. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's some folks that don't love that that's higher than some of the things below it. For sure. Anything else? Okay.
All right, Andi, thank you so much.